everybody, welcome back to the Money Is Show. This week we got an incredible guest that I want to talk to you about marketing. His name is Benton Crane. He's the CEO of Harmon Brothers Marketing Agency right here out of Utah. And they've worked on some incredible projects, have viral videos that you guys have probably seen. And these are the guys behind those viral videos with certain brands such as Squatty Potty, Poopery, Purple Mattress, Lumi Deodorant. I know those because I freaking have bought those first three I mentioned. I bought all of those. I bought it myself because of watching their videos. These are the guys who put those videos together. He's also executive producer of a TV show called the Tuttle Twins. If that sounds familiar to you, it's because earlier I had Connor Boyack, who's the author of Tuttle Twins, on the show. Benton here is the executive producer of the actual TV show, and Connor's the author of that. On that note, I'm going to have you guys introduced to Benton Crane, the CEO of Harmon Brothers and executive producer of Tuttle Twins. We'll spend some time talking about marketing, money, and Tuttle Twins as well on this episode. On that note, Benton, thanks for coming to the show, man.
Hey, Andrew, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
This is, it's actually kind of a unique show for me because most of the time when people come on the show, I meet them that morning, and it's the first time I've ever met them, and then we're on the show together. This is actually the third time I've met you.
Yeah, we're practically neighbors, right?
We actually, I've been to your office, you've been to my office. I actually was geeking out at your office. Super. I know you're moving, or have you officially moved yet? Or
Not yet. Not yet.
And your office is super freaking rad, dude.
Yeah, it's a 1950s car dealership.
Yeah.
It was Studebaker.
But right
was
on
a
the
car
corner
brand.
lot, like you had an old-timey car lot would have been, or car dealership would have been back then. Glass all around the front side of it. Super high ceilings with brick exposed everywhere. Yeah, being a office unique person that loves all those details of it, because to me it's part of the brand.
Yep.
Is the office, right? And I feel like your guys crushed it over there. So actually, I should. What are they going to do after you move out? I actually should go lease it because I freaking love that building.
It's actually already leased. So there's a company called Chat Funnels that will be moving in behind us.
Okay.
So we just outgrew the space.
Yeah.
We're bursting at the seams. So we'll be moving on.
I want to talk about a little bit about, your CEO of Harmon Brothers Marketing Agency, works with massive brands in marketing. You're obviously buddies with a mutual friend, Connor Boyack. Actually, I think Connor introduced me.
That's
right.
You, yep, he connected us.
Yeah. Mutual friends with Connor there. You're executive producer of that show there. Let's talk a little bit about the Tuttle Twins just for a little bit. I want to start the show there because I think Tuttle Twins has unique dynamic about what's behind it and the market you guys are hitting with it. Let's talk a little about Tuttle Twins. What got you involved in that project? Obviously, Connor's kind of the author.
Yeah. So Connor wrote the book series.
Yeah.
He is what I would call a freedom fighter.
Sure.
Right? So he's the founder of this think tank called Libertas, and he's out in the trenches getting laws changed.
It's incredible what he's done. It really is.
They've made
fascinating.
They've made incredible strides, particularly here in Utah, around protecting individual rights, around getting rid of unjust laws.
A lot of help for entrepreneurs. He spends a lot of time helping, and entrepreneurs don't know it. Because they may not know what he's doing, but behind the scenes, he is directly affecting entrepreneurs.
Yeah, tons. And so Connor, he's looking for books to teach his kids these principles about economics, liberty, entrepreneurship,
capitalism.
all these principles that, quite frankly, are not taught in schools. And he's searching Amazon, he can't find anything, and so he just decides, well, I'm going to go write something.
Yeah.
And so he writes a children's book called The Tuttle Twins. It started out as just one book, and then he started writing sequels to it. I don't know how many he's up to, 11 or 12 now.
Yeah.
And they've sold over 3 million copies of these books, which is it's mind-blowing how successful these books have been.
Is he still self-publishing those books? Do you know? That's what I thought. I thought he was still, which 3 million books in general is insane.
Yep.
3 million self-published books sold is even another level of insanity.
Yeah.
What he's able to accomplish with the Tuttle Twins.
Yeah, it's incredible. So he grew that himself to the point where he was selling a few dozen copies per day.
Right.
And he was seeing that, hey, there's a lot of demand for this. This has, this is pointing towards a big success. And so he actually came to us seeking some help with his marketing. And so we dove in and started helping him with his marketing. And he was able to grow his book sales from a few dozen copies per day to several hundred copies per day. And so, naturally, as we're working on the marketing, we're taking all these books home and reading them to our kids, and we're getting immersed in the Tuttle Twins world.
And it's coming from an angle that just doesn't exist right now. Like, it's just not on the marketplace.
It's serving a massively underserved market. And it turns out it's a big market too.
Massively underserved. Like, not even massively underserved, like ignored and thrown to the side almost.
Yep.
It doesn't exist. Like, again, I have a nephew, and I read him books and books and books and books at nighttime. None of them have any, like, what I would say value inside of them. Mm-hmm. It's all like the dog and the cat, and sometimes they have. I have read books where I stopped reading and said, I'm not reading. I throw it on the floor. I was like, I'm not reading that.
Yeah, this is a waste of my time.
I could see there was this angle that they were starting to play in it, and I hate it when they do that. I hate it when they do TV shows that way, cartoons that way. It drives me insane.
Yep.
Man. Insane.
Yeah.
So go ahead, man, because I love the Tuttle Twins.
Yeah, so it's interesting because our team at Harmon Brothers, we're a bunch of creatives, right? I say we, but I'm like the least creative of everyone there. But our team is just full of these incredibly creative people, and you can see our track record of work where we've taken on like all sorts of crazy campaigns. Some of them really taboo, like Poopery and Squatty Potty. Like,
well, it's just that by taboo, it just is like an awkward one to go market.
Yeah,
it's not like you're marketing Levi jeans or something, right? It's Poopery.
Who wants to sell like a poop stink product?
Yeah. It's hard to market. Like, you got to get really creative.
Yeah,
and you guys did, right?
And through this process, we've kind of developed this unique skill set where we can be very educational, but we can do it in a way that we entertain you at the same time, to the point where you don't feel like you're watching something educational. You just feel like, hey, we're having fun here.
Right.
We're just enjoying ourselves. We're smiling. We're laughing. I'm going to share it with my friends. I'm going to talk about it at dinner. And so our team has had these long-term goals of wanting to move beyond just advertising. Mm-hmm. We want to get into broader, bigger storytelling means. And so as we're kind of falling in love with this book series, meanwhile, Connor is thinking like, hey, this needs to be a show. And he even started going down the path of trying to develop it into a show and find backing. And
okay.
And so we find out about this and we're like, Connor, let us make the show. Like, who better to do it than us? We're philosophically aligned. We have the storytelling chops. We have the entertainment chops. We have our team is full of just accomplished comedians who can bring that skill set.
Well, plus you have the marketing brain behind it.
Yeah.
Which, if you can start at the beginning, understand the marketing plus the content, it actually flows very smoothly together. Most of the time, people bring you a project and say, "Hey, this is done. Market this," and then you got to go kind of dive into it and then put the marketing. The content's created, and the marketing's got to go behind it now, and then try to find the angle behind it.
Which is what happened with the books.
Yeah.
But with the show,
it was the other way around. You had that ideas that you could go use from the beginning.
Exactly. So my partner, Daniel Harmon, he's our chief creative officer. He had this vision for the show where if you go read the books, you'll find they're probably like, I would call it 90% education, 10% entertainment.
Sure.
And Daniel's like, you know what? I want to flip that on its head.
For the shows.
For the show, and I want to go 90% entertainment and 10% education, because I want this show to be so fun that kids are choosing it over all their other options on Netflix and Amazon and everything. But they're just watching it because it's freaking fun and they love it.
Which I think was a great move, because you have those like TV shows, movies, etc., that have gone the opposite of that.
Yep.
And what happens is their niche stays really small, and they're almost like, I don't know, I want to say the wrong word, but almost like an outcast to, here's all the normal TV shows, and it's like, oh, well, here's this other hyper-Christian show that's hyper, let's say, I'm using the word Christian here, hyper-Christian show over here, and the majority of these people kind of ignore it like it's a weirdo type show, if you will. And they miss out on actually helping influence for a positive way this massive niche over here. Not niche, but the massive quantity over here, because they went hyper niche over here. So I love it that he went 90% let's just go be a
Yeah,
show.
yeah. So the Tuttle Twins doesn't, it's not Christian media,
Yeah.
but by any means. But that's a good example of media where it's either so cheesy or so like in your face preachy
Right.
that it never gets the opportunity to go mainstream.
The mainstream looks at it and says, dude, this is too weird outside
Yeah.
the box. That
Yep.
even if I agree with it, it's like, I agree with this, but I don't know. I'm not going to watch this. It's kind of weird. Versus Tuttle Twins fits right in the pipeline of all TV shows that are out there. It doesn't get put in the fence, which I think is a very key distinction you guys made.
Yeah. So, let's call it the liberty market, if you will.
Yeah.
It's already a very underserved market, meaning the media that's out there that's available on Netflix and Amazon and everywhere else, it's not serving that market at all. So we already knew we had an underserved market, but then we thought we can even take it a step further, where if you go look at the catalog of content on Netflix, what you tend to find is you have a lot of adult content,
Okay.
and you have a lot of kids content, but there's very, very little on there for actually adults and kids to enjoy together. And so there's
A parent watching the show with his kid.
with the kids, like the kids stuff is all too cheesy, it's just for kids, and then the adult stuff is all too adult.
And the kids can't watch it yet because the parents like, oh, you can't. They just dropped the F-bomb on the show. And I don't want the kid to know it yet. Right.
Exactly. So the amount of content that's out there for parents and kids to enjoy together is surprisingly.
I'm just thinking here. Can you give me an example of one
Pixar.
Besides, okay, Pixar.
Yeah, I mean Pixar is doing it.
Okay.
They're doing it phenomenally well. Marvel is doing it.
Okay.
That's more teenagers.
Yeah, sure. And kids.
On up. But outside of there, there's not a lot.
Yeah.
It's very slim. And so when we went into Tuttle Twins, we intentionally said, okay, if we do this right, we need to write this content on two different levels, a la Pixar, where it's super fun for kids and it's entertaining for kids, but we've also got to entertain the adults. Like we have to have the level of humor be so intelligent that mom and dad are sitting there and they're having fun, they're laughing at it, and oftentimes they're also learning right alongside their kids. And so
that's a tough. I mean, I'm just thinking about all the like marketing and stuff that we've done, and thinking about, man, to write something that hits both of those, that's tricky.
Oh yeah,
that is difficult.
It's incredibly challenging. And so honestly, like we put together our best writing team. We have our whole writing team is amazing, but on this one, we brought in Kellen Erskine, who he does stand-up comedy. He's been on Conan. There's an Amazon special on Kellen. Like he's phenomenally talented. He's got a huge special on Dry Bar Comedy, and having that level of talent there to write the comedies so that like mom and dad are going to have fun. They're going to enjoy this. So when I describe the show to people who have never seen it, I'm like, okay, imagine The Simpsons and Magic School Bus having a baby.
Okay.
That's kind of the vibe that you end up with Tuttle Twins. Like it's more family friendly than The Simpsons, but the comedy is at that level. It's very intelligent comedy. And we partnered up with Connor, and then we followed in the footsteps of The Chosen, which we actually went and we equity crowdfunded this show, took it out to the crowd and said, hey, if you want this to exist, invest into the show. We raised $4.7 million from the crowd.
Wow.
We took that. We're building season 1 with it. So at the time of this recording, episodes 1 and 2 have been launched. Episode 3 launches next week. Mm-hmm. And
is it one a week that you?
One every other week
is
the cadence. Is the cadence we're at right now. Long term, we're hoping to hit a cadence of one every single month. Will drop. But for season 1, we have 12 in the works.
Okay.
It's free to stream. You just download the Angel Studios app on any of your devices, and then you can stream it absolutely free. And on that app, you can also get The Chosen and Dry Bar Comedy and Freelancers, and so you get a pretty awesome library of content, and it's all free.
So to watch the Tuttle Twins, it is a different model that if viewers are out there that you may not know about yet, because you can't just go to YouTube and watch it.
Yep.
You can't go to a Netflix or a Hulu to watch it, or a on demand.
Yep.
You literally have to go to and download this app called
Yep.
Angel Studios.
Yep.
Which is in a way, I guess, a partner with you guys. That's
Yeah,
putting it out,
they're the distribution platform
that you guys are using called Angel Studios. And inside of Angel Studios app, you can watch all the episodes that are out there. Let's talk about the marketing side of that for a second, because do you guys use YouTube or talk a little bit about why you guys didn't choose marketing Tuttle Twins on YouTube, but you do still use YouTube to a certain degree.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about the marketing of how you did it with Tuttle Twins and YouTube and Angel Studios.
Yeah. So keep in mind our background started in YouTube marketing.
Yeah.
It goes all the way back to when was it, 08 or 09 or something. Google had just recently purchased YouTube.
Yeah.
Prior to that, YouTube was not a business platform. It was just cat videos or whatever.
Yeah, putting squirrels skiing.
Yeah. And at that time, Jeffrey Harmon was trying to market a product called the Aura Brush. It was a tongue cleaner that you scrape your tongue and it gets rid of bad breath. And he worked with Devin Graham, who everyone knows as Devin Supertramp.
Supertramp, yeah.
We were all college roommates.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
And they shot this 2.5-minute video that's pitching the Aura Brush. And so Jeff gets this video done, and he starts showing it to people. And the universal reaction that he got every single time, including from me, was 2.5 minutes? What are you going to do with a 2.5-minute video? You need to get this thing down to 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And at the time, that was true because you had your 30-second spots and your 60-second spots on TV.
And people are just accustomed to that.
Yeah.
That life.
Or you had like your infomercials that are like a half hour long.
30-minute long, 22 minutes, whatever.
Yeah. So this 2.5-minute thing is like total odd duck. But Jeff was determined. He was like, no, I need 2.5 minutes to properly pitch this thing, to really show the benefits. And I don't need a half hour. I just need 2.5 minutes. And so he actually reached out to YouTube. And at the time, YouTube they were very startup-esque, very scrappy, because they're trying to build it into a business platform, right? And he goes, guys, can you give me a skip ad button so that I can play this, and if people want to watch it, they can watch the whole 2.5 minutes. But if they don't, skip it. They're watching their content. And the YouTube team was like, sure, we'll give it a try. So they went and built the skip ad button
that we all use today.
Yeah, specifically for that ad. And I don't think at the time, none of them had any idea how impactful that little innovation would be.
Sure.
But you fast forward today, we're, 12, 15, whatever years later. I can't think of a bigger innovation in the world of advertising than that. Because if you think about it, prior to that moment, advertisers had a captive audience, and so they treated us like a captive audience where they're like, I'm going to force feed
whatever I want.
Yeah, I'm going to force feed you whatever crap I want to.
Yeah.
And that one little innovation shifted the balance of power from the advertisers to the viewers, to where now advertisers have to think, I have to actually make something that people want to watch.
It's so true, because like I'm thinking through YouTube right now. When I watch YouTube, those ads pop on. I know they're going to pop on. Like I know they're going to hit, right? And they have that, whatever it is, 10 seconds or whatever it is.
It's 5 seconds.
5 seconds to grab my attention.
And if they don't, you're out.
And if I don't, then I'll skip it. But if it's something that can grab my attention, it'll make me say, wait a second, what is that? And I'll watch it to a certain point where I can figure it out, or it ends, or I want to buy it, whatever it is. But it puts all the power back in my hands. And it makes them think, how can I create something content-wise, marketing-wise, creative that is appealing to the customers that want it, that want whatever it is that I have, right?
And
it's very unique.
And it runs even deeper to where advertisers love to think about how they can extract value from the viewer. But that little innovation forced advertisers to say, you know what, I actually have to add value.
True.
I've got to think about, how do I make your day better? How do I put a smile on your face?
Yeah.
How do I give you something to share with your friends?
Yeah.
How do I give you something to talk about at a party or at the dinner table?
I mean, think about it. I chose to watch it.
Yes.
I chose to watch an advertisement.
It's not forced.
Think about the power of that concept right there, right? I want to ask you, you're talking about all these videos and stuff, and you guys have had several videos, marketing style videos like this, go viral. the poopery and the squatty potty and all this different stuff. And you guys create these videos at your agency.
Yep.
And then obviously, I guess you are creating them with the intent and desire and hope that they do go viral. That's what you're wanting to take place, right?
Well, we're creating them with the two intents. One we just talked about is we want to add value to the viewer. So we actually want to entertain you, give you something to smile about, give you something to have fun with, give you a reason to voluntarily choose to watch this. But then two, and this is the other side of it, we're going to educate you and we're going to convince you that this particular product is a great solution to whatever problem you're facing.
Yeah.
And what that does is it creates an economic engine for these brands who now they can say, whoa, I can put $1 into this and get $2 back out. And so regardless of whether or not it goes quote unquote viral,
sure,
I can still show it to millions and millions of people because the economic engine allows me to.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we're known for our quote unquote viral videos and people have called us the kings of viral video and all that sort of thing. And honestly, we've been blessed to have had several campaigns go truly viral. But if you actually step back and look behind the scenes of what that means, virality is actually a very short-lived flash in the pan. So let's take Squatty Potty, for instance. That campaign was viewed over 250 million times, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like 300 million times.
And how long was that video? Do you remember?
I think it was about 4 minutes, if I remember correctly. Yeah. But if you actually step back and look at the numbers, when it was viral, it was basically the first week.
Okay.
And so its virality probably produced, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 10, 15, maybe 20 million views.
Okay.
Which, that's phenomenal, right? That's nothing to shake a stick at.
Because on those, you're not necessarily paying for them as much because they're sharing and sharing and
sharing.
sharing.
It's just the sharing has gone nuts, and so it's going,
viral.
Yeah, viral. And a lot of people think that's like the holy grail. But when you actually step back and look at it, within that 1 week, how much of that demand can Squatty Potty actually capture in that 1 week before the virality tapers off and then it kind of goes back to a baseline? And so if our whole strategy was just virality, you would have had that week of fun and then you'd be back to normal.
Right.
But when you look, that campaign ran for months and months. I think it was 2 years or something like that. And over that time, it was seen over 300 million times and generated tens of millions of dollars of sales.
Yeah.
And so understanding that concept, you can actually step back and look at a different campaign, Purple Mattresses, for instance. That Goldilocks egg drop commercial that we made for Purple, if I'm not mistaken, it's been viewed over 500 million times and generated well over $100 million worth of sales. And it never went viral. It was one of our campaigns that never went viral. Like, yeah, it had some shareability where people were like, hey, this is cool, sharing it with some friends, but it never just took off.
Right, right.
The whole entire time, it had to be pushed with ad spend. And as long as Purple could put in $1
and get back X, $1 plus.
Yeah, get back whatever that number is, then they could just keep feeding it.
Right, right.
And so it lasted for years.
Talk to me about, and I know you said you're not, and this was a humble thing, but I know you said you're not the most creative one in your office space that's there, but talk to me about, we have a lot of entrepreneurs watching right now, right? And we're talking about creative content, right? And a lot of these men and women, they're trying to create an ad, right, on a Facebook piece, right? That's sending people here or there, whatever it is they're trying to do, right? And they probably have never had someone at your company's caliber and level that they've sat down with and hired. They're probably just not maybe at that point yet. Some are, but maybe some are not. What is a piece of advice you could give them when it comes to trying to create a creative content piece? Like, where should maybe they start at, or how does that kind of look in it, just from a bird's eye view, right? You can't teach creative content here, but if you guys were doing a piece for them, how would you guys kind of start? What's some advice you'd give them?
I think the most important piece is kind of understanding the spectrum of where they're at in their own entrepreneurial journey. So if we start the spectrum at obscurity,
Okay.
it's where every startup starts, right? No
Okay.
one knows you, no one trusts you, no one remembers you, no one knows what you're about. That's where everyone starts, right?
Okay.
And then if you swing all the way to the opposite end of that spectrum, you end up at like Apple and Nike, right? Where everyone knows you,
Okay.
everyone trusts you, everyone remembers you. That's like the household name, right?
Right.
So if you look at that spectrum and say every business in the world is somewhere along that spectrum,
Right.
but a startup is never going to be successful if they try to act like Apple. If they go out there and they're like, oh, we want to make these super high concept, emotional, high budget, narrative videos, they're going to go broke.
Right. Right.
And of course, Apple is never going to act like a startup where like they're not going to go knock on doors and like hard pitch their products or hit you with a call to action like click now while supplies last, right? They're not going to do that. It's all about brand. And so understanding that if you're still in the early stages, it's totally appropriate to go direct sales with your approach in terms of how you build your campaigns, how you build your videos. It's totally fine to be like, hey, you have a problem. We have a solution. Let me build some credibility. Let me overcome some concerns. Let me hit you with a call to action. Click now to buy. Click now while supplies last. That's totally fine.
Okay.
But over time, if you stay in that world and you never graduate into thinking about how do I build a brand for the long haul? How do I make it memorable, emotional, shareable, all of those things? So a classic case study. Do you remember Snuggie, the infomercial of it's like the blanket with sleeves?
Yeah, blanket with sleeves. Yeah. I bought one, of course.
That infomercial, depending on what source you read, it sold somewhere between $300 million and $500 million worth of Snuggies. Like one of the most successful infomercials of all time.
Crazy.
But I don't know how long it's been, 15, 20 years since that was a thing. Now you can go ask any kid on the street, have you heard of Snuggie? No. They're nowhere to be found. They're not in stores. They sold $300 to $500 million worth of product and they never bothered to build a brand.
Yeah.
Like imagine if they had this mindset of, okay, we've got the sales, now let's go into brand building. Fast forward to today, you could have a whole line of Snuggie products.
Oh, shoes, hats, gloves, like unlimited type of stuff. Away from just Snuggies on the couch, you could get into like winter wear now that still has that tie into it.
Exactly.
But you had these 300 plus million customers. Guarantee you, X percent of those would have bought your very next product just because of Snuggies alone, right?
Yep.
They'd have bought it. But you're right. Like I only think of Snuggies as that blanket shirt thing, and I haven't seen them in 10 years or whatever it is. I haven't seen them anywhere.
Yeah.
I only know it because I bought one as a gift for somebody.
And they never bothered to shift their thinking from direct sales.
Man, I love this conversation because you have these two sides of the spectrum, which you named, right? Startup and then Apple on this other side of it.
Household name, right?
Yeah, household brands that are other, Coca-Cola, et cetera.
Yep.
And I'm going to talk about from my own perspective for a little bit here, in my own life and journey. I've almost been, because I got to the point where I had some decent money, and I didn't want to be a brand that like went online and just sold stuff. Like here's this thing, and here. I see it sometimes on TikTok now, where it's like this TikTok person that has this thing for sale, and go to my link tree. I have 92 other things that I have coupon codes for, right? And I didn't want to do any of that type of thing. I just said, man, I just really want to focus on my brand. I just really want to long-term play this and add value and not try to necessarily have a call to action or a sale. I want to play the long-term game of building a brand. And I struggle back and forth with it. So this is a very unique conversation you're having here, literally from my perspective. So you guys can now peep in on this conversation I'm about to have with you, because I'm all about brand and long-term brand building, right? But some of my friends, associates, partners will be like, yes, but you have to have something to sell. Like if you just value, and you have nothing there behind it that you're trying to show them, hey, if you want to learn more, come here, or join this, or be a part of this, whatever it is, that your customers don't know what to get from you, and so eventually they pass over you because they don't know where you're trying to take them, if you will. And I've struggled deeply with that thing right there. And obviously I'm not a household brand name, but I want to go that direction per se, but I didn't want to have a sale. Where do you see it, man?
So let's look at that. To build a brand that's going to stand the test of time, that's going to cut through the noise, that's going to be remembered, that's going to be trusted, it requires an economic engine to build that brand.
Okay.
So for most startups, that actually means, yes, we have to have sales because that's going to be the economic engine. But in your situation, you're bringing up this case where, hey, you've had some business successes. You have an economic engine, a personal economic engine, right? And so now if you want to say, you know what, I've got this economic engine, I'm going to use that economic engine to invest into building a long-term brand, you totally have the flexibility to do that. The people who don't have that flexibility are the companies or the individuals who haven't built the economic engine yet. And so what happens is they go watch Gary Vee videos and they're like, oh man, Gary's on every platform. He's on YouTube, he's on TikTok, he's on Instagram. I've got to go copy Gary Vee. But what they don't realize is that Gary Vee has an economic engine. He's built a team that allows him to be on every single platform and be, omnipresent everywhere.
Right.
Because he has an economic engine that allows that to work. And if they haven't built that yet, there's no way they're going to succeed.
And they look at the Gary Vee model, because I got caught in this of Gary's not selling you anything. I mean, he's not like out there pitching you this thing or this thing or this thing, right? He's not. And I love that about Gary. I think a lot of people love that about Gary is, let's take another person similar to a certain degree, let's say Grant Cardone, right? And Gary's went out there and basically, I'm not going to say he's not selling you anything because he does sell stuff, but it's uniquely how he goes about it. There's not
much softer, indirect.
Not a direct call to action per se. It's like he'll talk about a wine company that he has, and he never really sells you per se wine. There's like a call to action, click here, go buy my wine, but people go buy his wine, right?
Yep.
And then you have Grant Cardone, who took a little bit different approach, but has a giant brand and is always, in a roundabout way, has a call to action, closing, et cetera, right? And I'm not here saying one is good, one is bad, but I do think that a lot of people looked at the Gary Vee model as entrepreneurs and said, oh, this is what we have to go do. And to your point, they didn't have a call to action. They didn't have anything they were selling. Although they had something they were selling, they're like, oh, I'm just gonna go add value, and never talk about my product in a CTA form. And what they didn't understand was Gary had 10 other companies over here funneling money into being able to spend all this time, effort, energy, staff. I've been to his office. There's a ton of staff they're doing his social media that he's paying for, funneled from these other companies, so he doesn't have to go sell these products to pay for that. Where if you are starting out, I think it's a misconception to feel like that you got to go do Gary's model, where it's like, dude, it's okay to go sell your product because you have to have money, or you're not gonna. You want to have oxygen to live.
That's exactly
inside of
right.
it. And I could definitely see how people got caught into not that Gary was telling you to go do that, but people wanted to copy it and got caught in a bad trap of not selling when they should have been selling something.
That's correct.
Right?
Yeah, and this goes back to your original question of like somebody who's thinking about marketing and they're like, oh, I can't afford a Harmon Brothers campaign that's, these big nationwide, viral.
Yeah.
I'm not ready for that. But guess what? Step a few steps back on that spectrum, and all those brands that we've helped, they were there too, where they just had to go into direct sales mode, and you don't have to spend massive amounts of money to have effective ad campaigns. You can shoot video on your
cell phone now, right?
on your cell phone. We teach a whole course in Harmon Brothers University that's called Easy Ads That Sell.
I didn't know you guys had a university.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Well, we have to train our own people, and so we're like, if we got to develop the content to train our own people, we might as well just
no way. I had no clue.
Release it and let people have access to it. So this course, it's all about this concept of I just need low budget content that can drive a sale.
Yeah.
And we teach 13 different ad formats that are all super low budget. Many of them like you can throw together in 2 hours on your couch type thing. And use this to go get direct sales and build that economic engine. And then once the engine starts to spin up, then you gain all the flexibility to say, okay, now I want to go do, so Harmon Brothers campaigns, for instance, where we're famous, is we blend the world of branding with the world of direct response. So you still have, your call to action and your overcoming concerns and all those elements, but you also have all the elements of branding that makes it sticky, memorable, fun, shareable, all of that. We're trying to bridge that gap.
Which that is tricky, to bridge those two, right?
Yeah.
A brand, clean brand, let's say, like think about a Coca-Cola, if you will, right? Household brand name. They never run a commercial that tells you to go buy a Coke, right? They don't run a commercial that says, and this week they're on sale at Kroger grocery store for $1.99. They don't run, Coke doesn't have that piece in their commercials that they run, right?
And they're smart not to, because they're at a point with their brand where it would actually be damaging.
Yeah, it hurt their brand if they went that way, right? And so you're taking maybe not that level of brand, but the ones on this side of it, like Purple. I think Purple is a great brand, right? But your ad was taking the brand of Purple, which I think is a great brand, and then merging it into some call to actions of selling the mattresses inside of it. And what I was saying was that's an art to be able to accomplish both of those right there.
But the industry used to think of it as an either-or proposition.
Yeah. I think I still do. This is like groundbreaking for me right now. That I think I've always looked at it as like an either-or concept.
Think of the list of startups who have raised money from VC investors, got several $1 million in the bank, and then they go freaking buy Super Bowl ads.
Right.
Like the list of companies who have done that and survived is very small.
Yeah, very small.
Most of them are like pets.com, where they go spend millions of dollars on a Super Bowl ad. They're trying to act like Nike and Apple and
they have that
Budweiser,
one
and
word
they're not.
Domain and everything, right? They built it out to play perfectly into it.
Yep. And so the world thought of it as either or, like you're going to go act like a brand or you're going to act like an infomercial. And those are your two options. And that's where we're like, no, think of it as a spectrum.
Yeah.
Where you're going to start in the direct response world and you're going to move more and more towards branding.
Yeah.
And so some of, Lumi, for instance, in 2018, they did $1.5 million.
This is the deodorant.
Yeah, this is the
that you guys are working with.
Yeah, it's the deodorant for pits and private parts.
Okay.
It was
P&P.
Yeah, it was formulated by an OBGYN who was trying to serve her patients who needed help. So she creates this product. Well, in 2019, after we launched our Lumi campaign for them, they were able to grow to about 25-ish million. Then in 2020, it was over 40 million. Now in 2021, like they're gonna blow that out of the water. The numbers the growth on it is just phenomenal. And so as you can imagine, they're now moving more and more into this world of how do we make our brand a long-term brand that's going to be memorable and sticky. And so whereas, just 2-3 years ago, they were still very much in that direct sales mode.
Interesting.
It's changing.
Yeah.
And naturally it should change for them.
Yeah. I like that, man. That's a lot of good advice right there that honestly has never been on the show. Like I've had branding people on the show. I've had marketing people on the show, but no one has talked about, myself included, merging in a very appropriate way those two things together to make it work. And I think not only are you talking about it, you actually did it. Like I'm going back to Purple.
Yep.
I mean, again, it's not maybe it's not a household name, but it's
on its
freaking
way.
Up there.
It's on its way.
Yeah, it is on its way, right? But then the ad that you guys did is about selling the mattress inside of it, and it was done in a very, I'll say, appropriate way where you didn't feel like you were being sold, but you knew that it was for sale, and here's where you go to buy it, but you didn't feel like it was a gimmicky, sales engine behind it, if you will. This is great freaking content, man. I like how how you guys have structured it, because like I said, I've battled with, hey man, I don't want to quote unquote dip my colors on the brand and start selling stuff. I just want to play a long play, but I'm gonna soak that in. I'm also going to send my guy to your Harmon University. What do you call it? Harmon University?
Harmon Brothers
Is it
University.
just online, or is it do you guys do it in person?
No, it's all online.
All online?
We develop it internally so we can train our own people.
Yeah. That's really cool.
think it's available at HarmonBrothersUniversity.com. Honestly, it's not something that we.
Yeah, you've never, in all the times I've met you, you've never brought it up.
Yeah,
it's
not something that we push. It's just, it's simply, we can't take care of all the people who want our help.
Yeah, and you have to train your own people.
Yeah.
So you might as well record it and put it out there.
Yeah, for every one client who we're able to help, I think there's typically 99 other clients or potential clients, right, who we just have to say no to. And so we might as well at least provide some value to them and give them help.
Let's hit
where
that
we
topic
can.
right there, because that's a very unique thing for business to say, right? Where it's like, I don't know, not the exact number, but using that as the example here, for every one client you say yes to, you say no to 99 other clients. So obviously in business, it's like, why in the world would, if someone's listening right now, why would they turn away 99 different potential clients that are trying to hire their services, and they have this 1, 2, whatever it is that they end up going with? When you're an agency and it's like, well, if you want to pay me to go market this, I'll go market this for you. Why do you guys turn away so many clients?
Yeah, great question. So our business model is not to try to go and scale up agency work. And it, like, that world is, if you want to scale that up, you basically have to throw huge amounts of labor at it, hire tons of people, train tons of people, and then go sign tons of clients. Like, that's the model, and that's not interesting to us for several reasons. The first one being that world-class creativity is really hard to scale, and it scales slowly.
True.
So if we just went out and started hiring dozens and dozens of people to take on lots and lots of clients, it would be very, very challenging to keep the same level of quality. Where we're more interested is we have a VC fund so that when we find the right client to partner with, our VC fund can make investments into that client, and we can take ownership stake in it. And then on the agency side, we can go drive enormous growth. And that way, when these companies grow and have major successes, we're getting to participate at an equity level and own some of that success. And that is so much more scalable than trying to scale creative people and headcount.
I know a couple buddies that have kind of the same model that are highly successful, like you guys. Do you see more agencies kind of going that route? Because agency was such a cool it word for a long time. Like, oh, I own a marketing agency, I own a marketing agency. And literally, I asked you this before the show, you guys don't even call it Harmon Brothers Marketing Agency. You literally just call it Harmon Brothers. There actually is no marketing agency. I added that so that people would quickly on the introduction
know what it
was. But agency was like this it word for a while.
That's a really good question, and it's kind of funny because we are not industry insiders, if you will, meaning like none of us understand the traditional agency world. We're all a bunch of outsiders who just came together and we were like, we have a really unique skill set that solves a huge problem. Let's go build around that.
Yeah.
And so I actually am totally oblivious to like agency trends, what's popular, what's not, where that is going. All I know is that we're able to help amazing entrepreneurs grow amazing companies and solve huge problems for their customers and essentially make the world a better place.
Yeah.
And we get to go participate in that in such a fun way where we're entertaining, we're telling stories, we're putting smiles on people's faces. And
it's a very unique model because you guys are all outsiders, coming into the world of corporate guys, if you will, that run agencies and so forth inside of it. You guys are all coming from the outside of no formal background experience of that model, if you will.
Yep.
But understand, I think a big piece of understanding true marketing, and you guys have captured this, is really understanding the psychology of the person behind, of the consumer or customer, whatever demographic you're going after, is really understanding the psychology behind that, and then creating the creative kind of to match that psychology of where that person's at with this product and connecting those two dots right there, again, which is very hard to scale because you got to find someone who understands all that stuff, not just here's a cool Sharpie, how do we go market this Sharpie for people that are out there. Let me ask you this question, last question before we hit the sign here. I don't know if you can answer this one or not. I'll ask you the good side of it. Out of all the customers you guys have worked with so far, which one would you say has been your funnest client or brand to work with?
That's an easy one for me personally.
Okay.
So FiberFix.
FiberFix.
Yeah, so it's a repair tape that's 100 times stronger than duct tape.
Okay.
And we needed to demonstrate the strength of this tape. And like, I'm not gonna lie, like at heart, I'm a redneck.
Okay.
And I grew up wrenching on cars all the time.
Yeah.
I started my career as an auto mechanic. And like I love that world.
Yeah, because if you're a redneck, that means you love duct tape and tie wrap.
Yes.
Those are just two necessities.
Yes.
I have them all around me all the time.
Yep. So we're trying to think of like, how do we demonstrate this? And we're coming up with all these ideas, and we're thinking, oh, let's build a roll cage on a Jeep, and then we'll reinforce it with this FiberFix, then we'll go roll it. And then we actually looked at videos of Jeeps rolling over at Moab, and we're like, oh, that's actually kind of boring because it just goes whoop, plop.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I need something bigger and better. And I actually remembered back to a date that I had gone on in, I can't remember if it was high school or college, but we went to a demolition derby. And it's like the most redneck event on earth.
Sure, makes sense, right, for a date?
Yeah, so halfway through the demolition derby, they have like this intermission event where these tiny little cars, like think Geo Metros,
Okay.
they come driving into the arena as fast as they can go, and then they hit a ramp, and whoever can roll their car the most times wins.
I've never seen that.
The crowd went nuts.
Wow.
Like the demolition derby
super
part
fun.
of it, it's fun, but this rollover event,
Oh, man.
like the crowd is going bonkers.
Yeah.
And so I remembered that, and I was like, I need that for FiberFix to demonstrate like the strength of this. And so I'm driving down the freeway, and I look up. I'm in Utah, and there's this place called Point of the Mountain that's famous for all these hang gliders.
Yeah, they're always out there.
And I'm looking at this mountainside that's this perfect slope, and I'm like,
No,
I want to roll cars down that mountain.
No way, dude.
And I couldn't end up getting the permits to do it there, but I found a different place. And so we built these cars where we have two cars where the roll cage is held together by duct tape. And we go roll those down the mountain, and they just get trashed.
Okay.
They end up
Your
like
typical
a pancake.
duct tape. Your typical off the shelf.
Yep. Then we go do two cars. The roll cage is held together by FiberFix. Roll them down the mountain. They're totally fine.
No way.
And it was like, I mean, the commercial has gone. That was another one that went viral. So it's been viewed tens of millions of times, and FiberFix ended up getting acquired by JB Weld. And, it was a massive success. But in terms of just pure fun of working on that campaign, it was like best day in the office ever. Like go chuck cars off a cliff.
Yeah, it was that. It was between that or Poopery. Those were your two top ones that you enjoy working with.
Well,
you went with that one. It makes total sense. Total sense. Awesome, dude. Yeah, that's a cool one. I didn't know they got acquired either. That's cool, man. I love the marketing side. Like marketing, I think it's the creative side that I enjoy so much. Is like, what can you come up with? What can you create that showcases whatever ABC product is?
Yep.
And then understand the psychological side, the psychology behind the other person that's going to the potential buyer, and then connecting those two worlds with this super creative side. And I love it how you guys have melted brands that are known and headed to household and CTAs together. Dude, that is a fine art that is hard to do, man, and super educational actually on the show for me of merging those two together. On that note, I want to hit the money is question here with you. We got your side for money is, and I'll have you put your answer here, whether it be one word, 2 words, whatever it is, 3 words, a sentence. Money is blank, and then you sign it right here and here, and then you'll talk about why you went with this answer of money is.
Okay. I think I'm going to go back to my redneck roots for this answer.
I didn't know you had the redneck side in you, man.
Oh yeah.
I just got back from Georgia last night, so I still have some flowing in me right now. Was out there on a quick vacation.
Yeah, this answer is going to require some explanation.
Most redneck stuff does, to be honest with you. It comes with a warning, basically. All right, here you go. This is Benton Crane from Harmon Brothers, CEO of Harmon Brothers, executive producer of Tuttle Twins, says money is motor oil. That for sure is a redneck answer. Motor oil for Benton Crane of Harmon Brothers. All right, let's talk about money as a motor oil. What do you mean by that right there?
Yeah, so I started my career as an auto mechanic.
Yeah, you just said that, yeah.
And a car's engine is a very complex machine.
Okay.
And you take the motor oil out of it, and it just stops. The machine stops. Can't work.
Yeah.
And when you look at the global economy as a complex machine of people trading with each other, people collaborating, people working together, there has to be something there that essentially, let's call it lubricates to make the machine work. And if you take that something out,
the whole thing,
it just grinds to a halt.
The whole thing stops.
And so you think about all of the innovations that we enjoy today, like the poorest people on earth today. Actually, let me back up. The poorest people in our country today enjoy luxuries that the kings of 100 years ago didn't have. We're talking air conditioning. We're talking refrigeration, cell phones, internet, all of these things that not very long ago were just completely unheard of. And so the amazing things that the collaboration of the economy bring to us, when you actually step back and say, what is it that makes all that collaboration and interaction possible? It's money. And so in that regard, money is the motor oil of this global engine, economy. And
it's so true, man. And you think about an engine, you take oil out of I drove. It's funny, man. I was in college up in near Chicago. I was driving home to Georgia, and I borrowed my buddy's truck. He had an F-250. So this had been like 2003, 4, 5 era, somewhere around in there. And I think those engines actually ended up later on having problems, if I'm not mistaken. And he did not change his oil in his truck. It was a nice truck, brand. Like at that time, it was like not brand new, but 2 or 3 years old. And I was driving down 65 South at Kentucky, somewhere in Kentucky, and the engine locked because it had no more
it's
oil.
done for.
And it was done. I literally had to, I ended up towing his truck. I rented a U-Haul truck and then a U-Haul trailer, and then got the truck onto the trailer, and then towed his truck all the way back to Georgia. So what I thought was going to be a nice trip for me ended up being a U-Haul with a truck and trailer and an F-250 behind me on this miserable trip. But it was because it locked up because it had no oil in that engine. And I've never thought about money in that way. You could take it from a macro side, like you just did, of literally the world as humans without money inside of there. It all comes to a halt.
Yeah, it would essentially revert back to a barter economy.
A bartering system.
Where it's like, okay, I've got to go trade my 3 chickens, but my neighbor only has a cow. That's not a fair trade. How are we going to do this? And the whole thing grinds to a halt. But money is what lubricates that all.
The whole thing to move and operate and work. And another answer that someone gave a while back, and I think it was a type of an economist, said money is confidence. And it kind of goes along with this answer here, because what he was saying is we as humans have to agree upon the value of what this piece of paper actually represents. And you have to have confidence in each other and in this piece of paper of what it stands for. And without confidence in that money, it'd never actually work, because when there's no confidence in it, then there's no value inside of it. And it's the same thing kind of what you're talking about with the motor oil. We've all agreed upon that this thing of money, we've agreed upon the value of it, what it represents, the energy that's stored inside of it, if you will, from the other person. And we have this confidence inside of it. And because we have it, when we pour that motor oil in the world economy, it allows because we all agree upon it, let's say right, even in the world, but we'll say in America, to make it work. But then you can take it to a micro level and go back to marketing in your business, right? You could have this really cool engine over here of your company, but like the example you gave, when you push out an ad, forget it going viral, but if you push out the ad and it costs you $1, but you get back $2, money is that oil that makes that company work. And that you can have an awesome company that has the product, it has the website, it has all dialed in perfectly. But if you don't spend that money to push it out, to market it, the company you have is just going to sit dead in the water. Right?
Yeah, I guess earlier I used the term economic engine. That's very appropriate in this case.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great answer, man. And I love it because it wins so many awards. Like for me, this is on the personal side. I love when people on the show give an answer that no one has, because my wall gets bigger and bigger with signs, and no one is given the word motor oil.
Yeah, I didn't figure.
I don't think no one's given that word. But number two, I love it because it has the redneck side. You stayed with the theme throughout it of the redneck side, which I'd have never thought of you in that motor car working, blowing up, rolling down cars down hills, redneck side. But now every time I walk by, I'm going to see and think Benton Crane, redneck.
Nice.
That's what I'm going to think through. So if that's the brand that you want, you got it, man. You accomplished it. You're on the show. Ben, man, I love hanging out with you, man. I really do feel like you create some great content of, again, just how to combine those two, because people have always looked at them, as myself included, as two separates, right? CTAs, brands, two separate things. And you guys have magically and perfectly combined those two things to build a brand and create the marketing call to action inside of it, while creating value, entertainment for people as well. And of course, I love the Tuttle Twins and support it and what it stands for and all that's behind the Tuttle Twins. Awesome things. So again, if they want to follow that, make sure they just download the app, free app.
Yep, Angel Studios
app. Download that app right there, and they can watch the Tuttle Twins on that side of it as you guys release that. And hopefully in the future, there could be even some NFT plays that you guys are going to play with in the future, maybe on some of those shows, which could be even more entertaining and fun to watch as you guys start dabbling into the world of cryptos and NFTs and so forth, which is always exciting in our economy.
Yeah, in fact, our viewers who attend our release events, so when we release an episode, we do a live stream event, and at those events, the first, however many NFTs we happen to be dropping, the first viewers get access to those NFTs. Yeah. So if you want early access to some really cool stuff, make sure to follow Tuttle Twins, and each time we release a new episode, there's a great opportunity there.
Some NFTs. That's so cool, man. You guys heard it here. This is Benton Crane, from CEO of Harmon Brothers, executive producer of Tuttle Twins. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of The Money Is Show, and we'll see you next time on The Money Is Show.